If you haven't been on a roller coaster lately, you're in for a shock. Just the sight of Millennium Force and its intimidating first drop fires up our survival instincts. It's the ideal testing ground to deconstruct the anatomy of the thrill. The lift hill stands an astonishing 310 feet, as tall as the Statue of Liberty. Every foot higher you climb, the potential energy builds. That potential is about to be unleashed in an explosion of kinetic power. As you approach the terrifying first drop, your instinctual brain is making a crude calculation. You are heading towards a catastrophic freefall, and there is no way out. It is the classic Darwinian dilemma: curiosity versus fear. We are drawn in by what scares us. The moment gravity takes over, the fight is on. The battleground lies at the root of your instinctual lower brain, in the limbic system, where your crude survival responses prime you to run like hell or fight to the death. Within a split second, the amygdala, your brain's primitive panic button, triggers a surge of adrenaline into the body. The rush, pumping blood and oxygen to your muscles. But on a roller coaster, you're all amped up with nowhere to go. So instead, you scream. And then a funny thing happens. You realize you're still alive. The battle turns. Your rational brain is catching up, regaining the higher ground, suppressing your intense fear with the ecstasy of survival.
There's something about it that I can't describe. I just love that scared feeling.
This is why we ride. The euphoria of extreme thrills. Inside your brain, it's chemical warfare, and it feels good. Our brain is made up of a complex network of about 100 billion individual cells, called neurons, that relay messages via trillions of connections, called synapses. The key weapon in our battle over fear is a neurochemical called dopamine, the elixir of courage. It is released in the synapses, showering our neurons with an instant cascade of pleasure, like candy to a kid. It is our reward for taking risks. You are in the dopamine zone, and the ride has only begun. You crest a hill, experiencing the holy grail of coaster fans. Airtime, the sensation of being released from gravity, flying weightless. Screaming through a series of hard bank turns, you feel the force of gravity magnified, the positive G-forces plastering you to your seat. Every moment of the ride, extreme science is toying with our fundamental human emotions. Finally, as Millennium heads for home, the speed and fear abate. But the dopamine is still going strong. For first-time riders, the feeling of ecstasy lingers. Dopamine is addictive. We want more. In 2000, they rolled the dice again with a new coaster, Millennium Force. Recapturing the title of highest, 310 feet. Fastest, 93 miles per hour. And steepest drop, 80 degrees. By now, 200-footers, known as hypercoasters, were the standard. But when coaster fans got their first taste of Millennium Force, the first 300-foot giga-coaster, it blew them all away.
And in the Millennium, my stomach, it just kind of felt like it just completely dropped. On the way down, it just dropped straight down. You can't beat it.
For Chief Mechanic Rick Heiser, the completion of Millennium Force has been the high point of his career.
Some guys like it and some guys don't. I've just always liked heights. Ever since I was a kid, anything I get my hands on to climb when I was young, I would do it. Always kind of a daredevil when I was young, and working here, it just makes it interesting because I love being up high.
Rick starts his day with an inspection of the elevator lift system, one of many engineering breakthroughs that made it possible for Millennium Force to top 300 feet. He is looking for any loose bolts or fraying in the cable. At these extreme heights, little defects can cause big breakdowns. The new elevator lift system on Millennium replaced the old-style chain lift used on Magnum XL200. It's steeper and 3 times as fast. At 72 miles per hour, the bumps can be fun. But at Millennium Force's 93 miles per hour, they could knock you senseless. Millennium's track had to be ultra smooth. The biggest leap in roller coaster engineering has been the use of computer-aided design programs that allow the engineers to calculate the stress loads on the track and the G-forces on riders down to the millimeter. The computer design is then realized in a high-tech manufacturing plant, where the tubular steel track is machine bent and precision cut. The superstructure on Millennium is constructed of steel supports the size of tree trunks. Rather than hand welding all the components together on site, the new Giga Coaster is shipped in pieces and bolted together like a giant erector set. When Millennium was unleashed, it was a $25 million revelation. Some fans swear by Cedar Point's Millennium Force. Its huge parabolic hills are famous for sheer floating hang time. True connoisseurs like Tony Mahalik, who has clocked over 1,000 rides on Millennium, know that every coaster, every train, has a zero-G sweet spot.
On Millennium Force, my favorite seat is right here, 5-1, right side, base side as they call it. Whenever the train's going over the hills, the front kind of lags at the top, waiting for the back to catch up. The back gets pulled over, and the middle just floats right over the hills, and it gives you the best air time.
Even the most extreme airtime coasters give us a few precious seconds of weightlessness. Why not air it out even more?